Hey Seattle, have you noticed new construction like popping up all over the city and wondered like what does this mean for you and your property values? Well, whether you're seeing new buildings like apartments and townhomes going up next door, you're hearing about zoning changes, property tax laws, and more, it can feel overwhelming and it can feel like the Seattle that you know is changing and slipping away from you like the sands of time through the hourglass or whatever that soap opera line was. But I'm here to help you make sense of it all. At my Keller Williams office in Greater Seattle, we had one of the folks from the Seattle Building and Zoning Committee come by. He was talking about the changes that are happening and what the 10-year outlook is for this and really what they're trying to accomplish and what their goals are. So whether you're living here, you're moving here, you're trying to invest here and just figure out what to do when you sell, what to do with your land, what to do with the postcards that you may be getting in the mail asking you to sell your property to builders and things like that. I want to go over kind of the big picture so you can get an idea of how this is going to affect you and kind of what developments are coming down the pipe here. My name is Emily Cressey. I am with Keller Williams Greater Seattle. I am a real estate investor. I am a real estate agent. And we're going to be talking about what the planning office calls its Seattle One Plan, which is part of their vision. For every 10 years, they figure out what's next for the city of Seattle. Guess what? 80,000 new housing units are what's next. We want to find out how that's going to impact you and your lifestyle and your property value. So if you're asking yourself, should I sell my home now? Should I hold on to my property as my neighborhood evolves? Should I put a DADU in the backyard? Or how can I get involved in the market if you're looking to invest, perhaps? So anyway, this video is for you. We're going to be diving into those questions, and I'm looking forward to walking you through what I learned. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. Seattle is growing quickly, and the city has set the plan in motion called the One Seattle Plan. And the idea behind this plan is to make room for more people by encouraging different types of housing in areas that traditionally only allowed single-family homes. So you might have heard of the Washington state law that changed a couple years ago, basically eliminating single-family home zoning. So what used to be zoned as a single-family home now has to allow up to 4 units on it. That doesn't necessarily mean that every single-family home lot is going to be appropriate for 4 units. There are still other things we have to look at, like how much space there is to build these things. A lot of lots are only 5,000 square feet, but if somebody wants to build a fourplex there, the zoning as single-family home zoning is not going to be the thing that prevents them from doing it. They'll have to look at the checklist of factors, but that item is no longer on the checklist. So essentially what this means is that duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and other types of property are going to be popping up in neighborhoods that may have historically just been for single family homes. And the point is to create more affordable housing. And really they're trying to drive a lot of population density around all of the public transportation, because you know that Seattle doesn't like us to actually have cars or drive them. Right? They want us to bicycle everywhere. They want us to ride the bus. They want us to ride the billion-dollar light rail system. And so there's going to be a special focus, and there's rezoning focus going on around the light rail stops in particular and high capacity transit line. If you're a homeowner, you can actually go in together with your neighbors, especially if you're in one of these rezoned areas, and create what's called an assemblage. This is where they assemble lots. Because if I'm building a giant townhouse development, apartment development, some 70-foot tall buildings, I want more of a footprint for that space than what a 5,000 square foot single family home lot is going to provide. So you will see rows of houses where the windows have been boarded up or they're all for sale. The homeowners are saying, you can buy all of this land and take it away from 5 owners and give it to 1 owner so you can build something bigger and better in that space. And the idea is that together the land is more valuable than it would be separately. You don't want to be like that little house with, I don't know, it was a children's book I read. There was like a little house in the country and then all the city built up around it and then its windows got broken and it was sad and alone. And then they picked up the house on a trailer and drove it out to the country again. That's how I feel when there's like one house left and this the tall stuff going in all around it. You don't necessarily want to be that one holdout. If everybody's holding out, then that can keep the neighborhood feeling the same. But once a couple people start to do this assemblage, it may be better for you to join in, sell the property rather than have a U-shaped apartment building hugging you from all sides, blocking the light of day. So think about doing an assemblage, see what everybody is doing, and you can always hold out for the price that's right for you. If a builder is buying land, he's usually willing to pay about 25 to 30% of the final product value for the land. So for example, let's say he's going to build like a large apartment building or townhomes, and altogether he's going to sell everything there for $10 million. That means he can pay up to $3 million for the land. Now, if you're dividing that up amongst 3 houses, then you could each have potentially $1 million sale for your home if they were all the same size lots. Depends on what you negotiate. You could also have different numbers depending on how many people there were and what the ultimate value of the project is. Obviously, the developer wants to pay less and the homeowners want to sell for more. There are realtors that specialize in working on these assemblages with you and helping you negotiate with the builder. So if you or your neighbors are in that type of situation, definitely reach out to me and I will put you in touch with someone who's a specialist in that area who can help you. The real question here is whether the home's highest and best use is continuing as a single family home or changing over to a taller, higher density property. And likely that will depend on the zoning of your property. We saw this a lot in Shoreline. They just put in 2 light rail stations there, and the immediate area around it was zoned to have buildings that were 70 feet high. So those are the really tall apartment and condo buildings. And then surrounding that, they were allowed to have buildings that were 30 feet high, which were the tall, skinny buildings. And then out from there, the zoning stayed the same and is continuing for the most part as single family homes. The good news is that if you are in a highly desirable area or rezoning area, the builders and the investors will come to you. You will get people knocking on your door. You will get postcards in the mail. You will get hounded by all of the potential builders who are interested in that space as well as their real estate agents. So if you're wondering, does this apply to me, and you haven't gotten anything in the mail, chances are not yet, but it's still good to know how these things work so you can plan ahead for the future. And again, consider the proximity that you have to main streets, bus lines, and other areas that would lend themselves well to bicycle commuting and foot commuting to larger bus and train stations. Basically, what Seattle is putting together is something that's called TODs, or transit-oriented development areas. And these are neighborhoods that are near light rail stations, major bus routes like the rapid ride kind, and that's really been the focus of the growth. So investors who are looking for properties in these areas are probably going to see them go into higher density multifamilies, or even if you have a house, you could build an ADU or a DADU in the back. I saw a property in Howler Lake that had 4 units built on it that were all maybe priced at $500,000, and they were like 2-bedroom attached 2-story townhomes or condos. So if you are an investor and you want to get into these things, Seattle is trying to make it easier to build and allow more density. And how does that affect you? Well, for example, if you wanted to put a DADU, that stands for detached accessory dwelling unit. And the idea here is that you're building a cottage, a mother-in-law suite, something like that, as an extension of your property to potentially rent to another family. In the past, you had to be living in the main house or you had to be living on the property. The owner had to be living on the property. You couldn't turn both of those into a rental unit. Now that has changed. If you want to bring in rental income, if you want to have an Airbnb, if you want to have a mother-in-law and then rent it out or sell it as a duplex in the future, you're going to have more flexibility in terms of what you can build and also your exit strategies. And the city of Seattle has also created a number of plans. I think they started with about 8 or 10 plans. The architectural plans are created for those. And the builders around here who make those have them spec'd out so they know how much it's going to cost them to build. So if you wanted to put something into your backyard, for example, you could go to this library, choose one of the plans, get a good idea of how much it's going to cost, and have it approved more quickly by the building committee. And all of that is meant to expedite and make it faster, because if you've ever tried to build, King County has been really backed up. It could take 6 to 12 months to get ready to do something like that.